Hi, I'm Phil Harbottle, and this is my 28th video discussing 1950s British science fiction paperbacks. In this video, I'm continuing the story of Hamilton and Company Limited, one of the original mushroom publishers, who sought to raise their game and transition into a mainstream publisher. In the summer of 1952, Hamilton's new Panther Books logo was being introduced to all of the genre titles, including crime, westerns, romances, and the Foreign Legion series, of which we can see an example here. And here we see the Panther logo. We'll get to it. Pages are sticking. Bear with me. There we are. That's what we want. It's a new Panther logo, and it was introduced on all of the genre books, including this Foreign Legion series. But we are only concerned with the science fiction, so let's take a look at the science fiction. Here we are. Here we see that the realistically painted Panther colophon had been short-lived and had been replaced by this more cartoon-like animal head. It's a cartoon animal, because it was much more easily seen on the newsstand displays. We first see it here on Cybernetic Controller, the second and final Bulmer and Clark collaboration published in August 1952. The authors continued to be Hamilton's regulars, Rick Conroy, Roy Sheldon, John J. Deegan, his popular Old Growler series being transferred from authentic to books. Ditto with the cover art, which was by the science fiction specialist Gordon Davies, with an occasional nice cover by John Pollock, who was an all-rounder. And see his work here on Mission from Mars. Chronological numbering was also included on the spines, alongside a nice little Panther head cameo, with Menacing Sleep being number 16 and Underworld of Zero number 17. Let's just have a look at the little logo on the spine. And that's when the numbering first commenced. It commenced at number 16 on the science fiction series, because that it's been introduced on westerns and the Foreign Legion titles. The book still remained an austerity-driven, miserly 112 pages, but they did have a better, improved cover stock. A nice card, which was a big improvement on the mushroom laminated paper covers that it had previously. Then, in November 1952, Hamilton suddenly published two hardcover editions. Hefty price of 8 6, at the hefty price of 8 6, commensurate with their 192 pages. Let's say the Hamilton, this one first, the Campbell one first. Beyond the Visible by H.J. Campbell and Born in Captivity by Brian Berry. The pictures on their lurid but eye-catching George Ratcliffe dust jackets was continued onto the wider spines. Let's have a look at the covers. There we see the cover picture being carried onto the spine. And on the back cover, there was the headline, Selected British Science Fiction, with about the author on the back cover and about the book on the front cover. There's the 8.6 price. And on the spine you can see there they had the Panther colophon, the cartoon Panther head. Now, I'm privileged to have obtained a copy of Beyond the Visible, actually signed by the author, H.J. Campbell. Books signed by Campbell are very uncommon. Note the dedication to the two Mrs. Campbells. I've often wondered if this was the source of a rumour amongst senior science fiction fans that Campbell had a mistress, which may or may not have been true. Perhaps it just referred here to his mother and his wife. Campbell's novel begins well, but it soon falls away disappointingly. It tells how one man tries to convince the authorities that humanity is actually being controlled and threatened by invisible entities who are made of electromagnetic energy that lies beyond the known spectrum, beyond the visible. The story is very obviously derived from the plot of Eric Frank Russell's much earlier and much better novel, Sinister Barrier, with resonances of John Russell Fearn's Other Eyes Watching and of the notorious Richard Shaver's bonkers Shaver mystery mythos. Campbell's variation involves the Earth being blasted out of orbit because the energy entities want to throw it into the sun. All humanity is destroyed except for one spaceship with 27 men and 27 women aboard, escaping to found a colony on Mars, at which point the story ends abruptly. How they plan to survive on a Mars that's never even described isn't explained. Thankfully, some of Campbell's later Panther titles are much better. However, Brian Berry's first long novel was especially good. It's set in the imagined future world of 2018, when virtually anything can be obtained by the press of a button. The creation of synthetic beings, or androids, together with a terrifying war to end all wars, forms the climax of a gripping story that displays the young author's growing maturity, its sublimating scientific ideas with genuine human interest and good storytelling. It was snapped up by the American publisher's Fiction House to be reprinted as World Held Captive in 2 complete science adventure books magazine in the spring of 1954, duplicating the feat of Vargo Statton's The Avenging Martian the previous year, which some viewers may remember from an earlier video. Hamilton's selected science fiction series was a bold attempt to establish a more adult hardcover science fiction line, and should have succeeded. The books were attractively bound. You can see there. Nice thick blue boards, gold lettering on the spine, and nice thick book paper inside. But it was not to be. Unfortunately, it wasn't a commercial success, as the line did not continue. It may well have been because Hamilton's were not established with the book trade as a hardcover publisher. Paperbacks had a totally separate distribution system, and so the titles were arbitrarily rejected by the bigger bookshop chains. But the Paperback Line was a different story. These books with the uniform blue spines continued on nicely at the rate of 2 new titles a month. They were evidently successful because the number of pages was increased from 112 to 128, from numbers 28 through to 32 for Berry's Dread Visitor, Bulmer's Encounter in Space, and Deegan's Amateurs in Alchemy. But Hamilton's were determined to continue their upward course. In a clever move in January 1953, they reissued both Beyond Indivisible and Born in Captivity in paperback editions. You see them here. There we are, the new paperback editions at a higher price of 2 shilling for the 192 pages. Note the white spines and the name Hamilton in the absence of the Panther logo on the cover. These were one-off specials and not part of the regular 1 and 6 series. Since the authors didn't receive any additional payment or any royalties, they would help the publisher recover any losses on their hardcover editions. Concurrently, by January 1953, the Panther paperbacks now increased their length to 144 pages, with number 37, Ken Bulmer's Space Salvage, and E.C. Tubbs' The Mutants Rebel, number 38. Craftily, this was accomplished by reducing the number of lines on the page and inflating the type size, rather than increasing the word length, so they didn't have to increase the author payments, who were paid by the word. The Mutants Rebel was perhaps Tubbs' best written novel to date. It told how men had started an atomic war, overriding the desires of their women and plunging the world into an orgy of destruction. Finally, when the vast armies of men had finally been shattered, women had taken over as rulers. Under successive matriarchs, the world had slowly recovered, diverting the vast war potential to peaceful purposes. To keep the world free of war, the matriarchs employed official assassins under the chief of security police. It was felt that the death of one person was an acceptable price to preserve the lives of many. But when the matriarch ordered the assassination of Don Burgard, an apparently harmless young man, but actually with unsuspected mutant powers, in a surprise twist, her personal secretary, Lyra, who we see on the cover there, decides to intervene. And so we have a revolt of the mutants, a rebellion. This was a superb story and was to be the seed corn of several future novels by Tubb, reworking its seminal theme. It was so good that I was able to resell it more than 50 years later, retitled but unedited, to Ulverscroft in 2008 for their Linford Mystery series as World in Torment. If you don't fancy snapping up this superb large print edition, then you need to watch out for its forthcoming new Wildside Press edition in paperback and illustrated boards. It belongs in anyone's science fiction collection. This landmark title gave Hamiltons the confidence to proceed with the next stage of their plan, the simultaneous publication of both hardcover and paperback editions of all the titles. But the conclusion of this intriguing story must wait for my next video.